There's about 7 or 8 buckets that we would outline for key tools, foundational tools that you'd want to give to every kind of corporate innovation team that's trying to do hacks, prototypes, spin up and validate new business models in very compressed periods of time. So the first one, this is a no-brainer, it's communication tools. Everyone knows of Slack, or now Microsoft Teams is out there. Actually, I think Microsoft Teams might technically be bigger than Slack, but you need to have fast, easy communication, different groups that you can communicate about, different projects or different businesses that you're trying to spin up. This is a no-brainer. The next bucket would be, how do you manage all your team and company knowledge in one place? Microsoft has some tools for this. Google Drive has some tools for this. Notion's another really good tool if you want to look at kind of aggregating all of this knowledge in one place. Airtable is kind of the third bucket. There's some other companies that are kind of doing things like Airtable, but we really love Airtable. It's basically like a spreadsheet, but with the power of a database to organize just about anything that you would want. So you can use spreadsheets to do things with numbers or financial models or these kinds of things. You could do that. You could continue to do that in Excel. But basically everything else you can use Airtable for. You can set up forms. You can manage workflows. You can do a whole slew of different integrations into Airtable. And there's more on this in terms of bucket number 7 about a great tool that you can integrate with Airtable. So we use Airtable a lot. What's a good task and project management tool? There's a bunch of these. We use Asana a lot for that kind of work. What are you going to use for your spreadsheets, your presentations, your documents, your email, your calendar? I mean, it's basically Google Drive, Google Docs, or Microsoft Exchange. We actually use both. And then what are great dashboards, right? How can you, in a very simple, consolidated way, provide easy access to KPIs, have everyone stay on track of what they need to deliver upon and what their progress is. We use Gecko boards for this, throw it up on a TV monitor in the office. It's a really great way to keep teams motivated and rallying around different goals and KPIs. 7th bucket, which might be the most powerful bucket of all of them, is Zapier. So when I was talking about Airtable and Slack and all these other things, right? Zapier is kind of like that connective tissue that you can now set up triggers for, right? So, if this data is put into Slack, have it go into Airtable. And, if this thing is mentioned here, or if this happens, have it go into Airtable or out of Airtable, right? So Zapier is that connective tissue, or when we want to do things with Gecko boards, Zapier can help power that. Zapier can integrate into all these different tools, help you set up functions that are now automated. It can help you with what you're doing with email management and your different numbers, and all of these different tools can now can benefit from the power of kind of different Zapier integrations. That's a really great tool. The last one is kind of optional. If you want a CRM, that really just depends on the scale of whatever kind of hacks or prototyping you're doing. How many customer or lead prospect information do you have to manage? If it's a decent amount of information, I'd recommend getting Salesforce. Salesforce can be pricey, and you got to get annual contracts, and you don't necessarily have to get it for everyone. If you kind of just have some business development folks that are more focused on building demand or supply or both, you could kind of just get a few licenses for them. Depends on the size of the team and the scale at which they're operating. Salesforce, is another tool that we'll use on the CRM side. So, let me give one example with kind of how this can all come together. Let's say you have a form set up using Airtable for any time a client requests something such as an appointment with you. By default, that request can go to a row on a spreadsheet, or you might get an email confirmation. But what if you wanted more than that? What if you wanted a Slack notification of every request, and you wanted to add that as a task to manage, assign it to a specific person on your team, or send a calendar invite to a teammate, as well as to the person submitting the form, right? Thank you for submitting. This is what Zapier can enable. It allows you to connect all the tools you use and automate processes without requiring any code. That's the other key plus, right? So in this specific example, Zapier connected Airtable, your email, your calendar, Slack, and your task management solution. There's no other tool on the market then we would recommend more than Zapier as that connective tissue to really help enable and take advantage of all the value that is kind of provided by each of these individual tools on their own merits. All of these tools that I'm recommending, let me preface this, there's no code involved, right? These are all tools that you can spin up. You don't need to have an engineer involved. If you obviously want something much more powerful and thorough with a lot more functionality, there's a bunch of other things that you can now leverage code and have engineers help you roll out. But these are really great tools that you can hack things and get things going in a very quick period of time without needing code to make them operational. Hi, this is Alex from Winner Take All. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a comment, ask us questions, and definitely make sure to join us on our next live stream.